welcome to episode number 6 of Friday Favorites. Today we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're not going to be talking about properties. Instead, I'm going to be talking about 4 ways you can prepare if you want to buy a home in 2020. We're going to talk about pre-approvals, we're going to talk about what you want in a home and in a particular community, we're going to talk about timeline, and finally we're going to talk about how to build your team. Okay, let's start with pre-approvals, because the reality is if you don't know where you stand, you can't go shopping. You wouldn't go to the store, pick up a $100 sweater and wait online if you didn't know that you had $100 in your wallet. What a waste of time. Now, a good loan officer is going to verify 3 things. They're going to verify your assets to make sure you have enough money for a down payment and to close the loan. They're going to verify your income to make sure that you are making enough to be able to afford the monthly payments. And they're going to verify your credit because they want to make sure that you can pay your bills on time. I always say to people, be very wary of anything typically you see online that says, click here and get pre-approved right away. If they are only running your credit, it is not a full picture, and in my opinion, not really a valid pre-approval. A good mortgage broker should be able to give you a pre-approval within 24 to 48 hours, if not sooner. You'll typically have to fill out an application and provide things like W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements, and tax returns if you are self-employed. A good rule of thumb is to reach out to at least 2 to 3 different lending institutions. This way you can get the best idea of what each bank can offer you. What I would not do is run around getting pre-approvals from anyone and everyone who will give one to you. You do not want that many hits on your credit. Stick to the 2 to 3 rule. If you need a recommendation, I work with a ton of awesome mortgage brokers and I'd be happy to connect you. The last point I'm going to make about pre-approvals is that in order to even make offers, you need a pre-approval. We are in a market where most sellers will not even consider or respond to an offer unless there are proof of funds if you are buying cash or a pre-approval stating that someone will give you a loan. Now that we know what you can afford, let's start to think about what you want. I remember talking to a client one time when we first started working together and I said, "What's the most important thing in a home to you?" And her response was, "Wow, no one has ever asked me that before." I always make a point now to ask each and every buyer what is the most important thing to them. Now you do think about the house, what style, bedroom and bathroom count, do you want a lot of land, but you got to think about the community as well. Do you want to be close to school? Do you have to walk everywhere? Do you want to be near the Long Island Sound so you can boat during the summer? You also want to think about deal breakers. I recently had a client who would not buy a house unless there was a garage. They didn't even want it for a car. They wanted to turn it into a gym. But to each their own. My advice though with wants and needs and deal breakers though is in the beginning especially, don't let it limit you. Start to see properties because I do think that over time you may decide, maybe I don't need a finished basement right now, I can do that on my own. And you just don't want to miss the perfect house because you put your blinders on. A little side note, the same buyer I was talking about at the beginning of this ended up buying the absolute perfect home in a town that wasn't even in their search criteria. So we know how much you can afford, we know what kind of house and community you want, at least we think we do. Now it's time to think about when do you want to be in that home? When I meet with buyers, the first thing I ask are 2 things. 1, do you have to sell your place in order to buy? And 2, do you currently have a lease, and if so, when does it end? Typically, the answer to these questions will dictate when you need to start being serious about making offers. My last bit of advice, and quite frankly I find to be the most important, is all about building your team. Now your team is going to consist of your real estate agent, your mortgage broker, your attorney, and your home inspector. I always say to buyers, put yourself in a position so that when you walk out of your dream home, you say, I'm ready to make an offer, and you can do it within an hour. Now let's talk about an attorney. You want to find a local attorney and use a local attorney. Uncle Tom from Long Island does not know the nuances of all the municipalities in Westchester. You're going to be doing yourself a huge disservice when you are about to make possibly one of the biggest purchases of your life. I think it's smart to identify an attorney early on. This way you can get an understanding of their fees, of closing costs, and of their role throughout the whole buying process. When it comes to a home inspector, do I think you need to be best friends? Absolutely not. But do I think you need to know who to call before you start making offers? 100%. This is a really good time for you to get to know your home. Personally, I like when one inspector comes and takes 2 to 3 hours to walk you through the property, point out the good and the bad. I also like an inspector who prints a report or provides a report on site, and lastly, someone who includes pictures in their report. Now it's time to find a real estate agent. You want someone who specializes in the particular area that you are looking in. You want someone who can communicate well and provide you with the best tools to help you search for properties and stay on top of the market. And lastly, you want someone that you like. Personally, I will not show you properties outside of the area that I specialize in. I find that I'm only doing a disservice by pretending that I know a particular market or a municipality when in reality, I don't. And this is why I have built a great group of referral partners. So whether you're looking in Katona or Jersey City, from California or even DC, I have great people that I can connect you with. One of the main reasons why I joined Compass was because I felt their search and collections was one of the best tools available to not only real estate agents, but to their clients as well. Not only does it provide a really nice visual way to view property, that's why it's called the Pinterest of real estate, it also provides a very streamlined way to communicate. My last and final point is pretty straightforward. Find someone that you like. Well, someone that you like, but is also very good at their job. Because the reality is you're gonna be talking to this person a lot, you're gonna be spending a lot of time with them, and you might as well enjoy it. Well, that's it for today, guys. Ryan is currently making the Google Home applaud, so that means hurry up. I'm going to provide a link in my bio where you can sign up to receive a copy of my buyer's guide. In the meantime, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Next week, I'm going to be talking about homes that have really good entertaining spaces for the holidays. So stay tuned. We'll see you then.